Hey everybody, welcome to our Warrior Wrestling preview for August 7th, 2020, Friday Night Lights, presented to you by myself at Wrestling Travel and our good friends at True Heel Heat. SVP, I always call you SVP. It's SP3. Sid.
Well, I am the vice president. So
there you go. I think it's the Scott Van Pelt. We're very happy Steve from Warrior Wrestling is here. We're going to do a little preview of this huge card. Steve, how are you today?
I am doing well, gentlemen. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. And Sid, how are you doing? Besides messing up your name every time I talk to you, how are you?
I am doing great, guys. I'm very excited to be a part of this. Justin knows his stuff. He is the king, the MC of Wrestling Travel, and Steve is the expert with indie wrestling, being the promoter of Warrior Wrestling, one of the best Chicago independent promotions around. I've known about Warrior Wrestling for such a long time. I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Awesome. Now, Steve, we got to follow up all that big praise he just gave us.
I was just going to say, dang, expert's a heavy word. I mean, fan, nerd, maybe. Expert, I'm not sure about.
All right, fellas. Hey, let's get right into it. I want to do a preview show. We've got this. And, Steve, before I even start on anything, I'm looking at the card that you guys have been talking about for the last few weeks. And live pro wrestling returning to the Chicagoland area, returning with a bang. This is a stellar stacked card, if I say so myself. There couldn't be I don't know how you could get any bigger with the big return to some live pro wrestling with precautions to the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, we're excited. You know, when we do a show, our goal is always to outdo whatever the last thing we did was. And our philosophy has been from the very first one we did, because the first one we thought was just going to be a one-and-done special event. We do this as if we're never going to do it again. Who are the best talent available to us? What are the best matches we can put together? How can we build this show so that if it all ends tomorrow, we can look back and go, I'm damn proud of that. And so with Warrior Wrestling Friday Night Lights, it's totally different than anything we've done before as far as seating and concessions and tickets and fan fest and being outside. All of these things are new and different. So that's unique in and of itself. But we didn't want to rest on that. It's not going to be a cool show just because it's outside. It's outside, and it's got a bunch of killer matches as well. So we're really proud to present this next week. We're on the 7th. Awesome. If you're hearing this on the... Don't wait till next week if it's the week of the 7th, regardless of what week it is.
It does not matter if you're not in the Chicagoland area. Sid, you're over there in New York, and guess what? You guys can join live streaming on Fight TV. How awesome is that?
I love it. I mean, me myself, when I first heard of Warrior Wrestling, it was the I call it now one of the legendary independent wrestling matches of 2019 with Tom Lawler versus Minoru Suzuki. That was a dream match that I had to go out of my way to see. So I know that with this card that we're about to run down, people need to go out of their way, whether it's Fight TV, wherever they need to go to watch this event, they need to do it.
Legally.
Exactly.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Legally, people. I know we're in struggling times, but legally, Fight TV is very affordable for everybody. So go out your way to go get it on there.
Support the independent wrestlers, the big time wrestlers, promoters like Steve, and I know Warrior Wrestling does a lot of work. A lot of their income goes to supporting the different programs at the school there. I want to dive right into the card, but I would be really stupid if I did that. Because Steve, could you please explain to everybody watching the steps that you guys are taking to ensure the safety of the fans, the talent, and everybody working there?
Great question, and thank you for asking me to touch on it. So first and foremost, what we're looking to avoid is crowding and contact. So we are setting this up so that everything is socially distanced. Instead of being in a gym with people crammed around in ringside seats and in the bleachers, we're doing it on the football field. And we're doing GA field seating on the football field. And we've put a spot, like an orange cone, all throughout the football field. And every spot is at least 5 yards from another spot in all directions. And you and your household or your party, whoever you've quarantined with, whoever's germs you're sharing, you guys can sit together on a spot. So every party is 15 feet from any other party on the football field, number one. We did the same thing in the bleachers. If you bought a bleacher ticket, we're dividing up the bleachers. So the bleachers will be very sparse. You'll be at least 10, possibly 12 feet away from anyone else in the bleachers. So you're distanced. We're going to distance as people come into the stadium. There is no longer paper tickets. So you don't walk up to somebody, they don't scan or tear a ticket. You walk up to a spot, you give your last name to somebody who's got a checklist, and they will look up that you bought tickets earlier, check you off, and you can come right in. You don't go near anybody. We also are doing no concession stands because that's a lot of contact and a lot of closeness. So we're doing free BYO. Bring a backpack, bring a small cooler, bring food, drinks, whatever. Bring all of your own stuff, touch all of your own stuff, and then take it with you. So no crowding, no contact. Masks are required when you're coming through the parking lot and where you're going to your spot. At your spot, you can take your mask off because you're separated from people. If you go to the bathroom, you need to wear a mask again. We've got hand sanitizer into and out of the bathroom. And then even at the end of the show, we are going to dismiss by groups. So literally an usher will walk around and say, folks, have a great night, and then dismiss group by group so you don't get a giant herd of people trying to crowd out at the end of the night. So you do not need to contact any other person or crowd around any other person at any point. Parking was all rolled into the tickets, so there's no exchanging of cash for parking. You don't touch anything. You don't come near anybody. It's like walking into a park, sitting down with your party, enjoying the show, and then leaving.
Wow, I don't know about you, Sid, but that's touching on everything, taking everything into account. That's very impressive.
I love the precautions to make it safe for the fans to really enjoy it and not have to worry. And it sounds like everyone's going to be comfortable with enough space for their parties and everything. I love the precautions that are going to take place.
Thank you, guys. And one I forgot to mention, too, we're also doing temperature checks on the way in. If you're running 100.4 or higher, you are not coming in, but we will refund your ticket fully.
Love it. And the Fan Fest, I know we talked off camera. There's going to be some distancing from the talent. Go ahead and jump into that.
Normally we do 250 fans and the talent crammed into the old gym in the high school. Obviously, that's not happening this time around. It's going to be on the football field in the stadium. We're selling a maximum of 80 tickets, and it'll be 40 tickets in 2 zones. And so one zone will have 40 spectators or fans and 10 to 15 talent, and then the other will have the same, and then halfway through the talent will switch. So if you're coming as a fan, you're in a zone with no more than 39 other fans. Masks are required the entire time there. Again, no contact. You can bring something for Brian Cage to sign, but you set it on the table, he signs it, steps back, and then you take it. You can't touch the machine, sorry. You can take a picture with him, but again, maintaining social distance and masks on. So we're doing it safely. Again, no contact, no crowding.
And if you're a fan watching this, please, and you're going, you have to understand the situation that we're in, the distance you have to take from the talent. And it's obviously the talent's discretion on the pictures,
yep.
I would say, because if you're not comfortable and nobody wants to get sick, nobody wants to get anybody else sick. We want this to be a fun, safe event. And please, we have to understand the circumstances. And Warrior Wrestling, taking all the precautions, impressive.
We're trying to keep everybody safe, and we also, we reserve the right to politely escort out anybody who's not following the rules. So if there's somebody in there screaming about, well, I don't want to wear a mask, totally fine, but we don't want you at our wrestling show.
100%.
Makes sense.
Great. Hey, let's dive into this great card. We're gonna dive in and kind of give our opinions on the matchups, and the first one I got written down in no particular order, and Isaias Velazquez versus Trey Lamar. Looking up on both of these guys, this looks to be a very athletic contest. Sid, your thoughts?
I'm not too familiar with either guy. I've heard more about Isaiah seen a lot of his work, and like you said, like a very athletic guy, a lot of athleticism in the ring from what I've saw. But I'm very much interested. I always like these matchups of two guys that I'm not too familiar with, because I get a fresh perspective on both guys, and I can kind of see the potential that both of these guys have, because they're both young guys in the independent game. So I'm very much looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's going to be an athletic contest. Isaias has been dominating freelance wrestling in Chicago. He's kind of been the ace of freelance for years and years, which is the promotion that produced Mustafa Ali for WWE, as well as Kylie Rae. And so they are kind of the three biggest stars to grow out of that promotion. And Isaias is a very quick, athletic, technical, just lightning speed wrestler, similar to Trey Lamar. Trey wrestles primarily at AIW in Cleveland, as well as a little bit for GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. And they're both athletes. They're both catch-can wrestlers. This is going to be the technical wrestling match on the show. This is going to be hold for hold, strike for strike, impressive. And I can't wait for this one.
Yes, looking forward to it. We're not even going to make predictions. Let's just let the wrestling talk for itself here on all these, because I'm looking down this card that I have in front of me, and I don't know if I can make a prediction on any particular one. So let's move on to my favorite match. I'm going to, hopefully you guys can say this 5 times backwards and forwards, but the Spartan Stadium Stampede Scramble is up next, and I'm going to give you the participants. Warhorse versus Dan the Dad versus Beastman versus Matt Nix versus Cypher versus Gobaldi versus the Cornbelt Cowboy versus Elayna Black, and finally Davey Bang. Now that is a lot of talent right there. I'm going to start with you, Steve. Can you kind of give us what are the rules behind the Spartan Stadium Stampede Scramble?
Well, the rules are still being hammered out. There is much internal discussion among the Warrior Wrestling crew. We are presuming it will be a first pin win scramble, but we're not quite sure yet. It's coming down to the wire. We just know it's going to be insane, and that's why we booked it. We wanted to take some of the most incredible, ridiculous, in a good way, wrestlers that we could find and put them all in one space and see what happens. So we've got a couple of cowboys, from the Cornbelt Cowboy to the Puerto Rican Cowboy. We've got a Beast Man. We've got a Warhorse. We've got Dan the Dad, Matt Nix. I mean, Elayna Black, who dabbles in the dark arts, so to speak. So you've got these incredible characters, and I have no idea what is going to happen with this match, and that's why I'm enthralled by it. I'm not going to be backstage. I'm going to be standing on the field, just taking in whatever the heck happens.
And you got a high bar to that's been set with Stadium Stampedes earlier in the year. But I think with a guy like Warhorse, who I've seen in freelance and a bunch of just different scrambles, 6-way matches, he's just going to bring so much energy to this match, especially being that his name is out there, being on AEW Dynamite. I know he's going to go out of his way to put on a show for those fans in that stadium.
Warhorse has never disappointed. He knows no percentage south of 150% of effort. He knows no volume lower than 140 decibels. He knows no typing that isn't caps lock. Warhorse is coming, and he's coming big.
4,000 watts of heavy metal. Yes, indeed. It's Warhorse.
I got to say, as much as the hype's on Warhorse, I'm looking forward to see a competitor like Elayna Black mix it up with everybody in there. I think that brings a certain intangible to this match, which was already exciting to begin with. But as I read down the list and saw that she's competing in there right with the big boys, I'm excited. I cannot wait to see this match.
Yeah, we had a great conversation with Elayna. So she's been on our radar for a couple of years now. She's local to the Chicago area, and she's wrestled at Freelance and Freelance Underground, gotten a couple bites at the apple in Evolve. And we've always had an idea that we want to use her at some point. And in talking with her this summer, she was very adamant that she is not limited to women's wrestling. She will get right in there with the biggest guys possible. And so when we called her and said, well, how about 9 of the biggest guys possible? She said, done, bring it on. So we're excited.
Gotta love her, the determination she's showing going in there with all those guys. But I do have a suggestion for you. I would
Okay.
love, because I've seen Dan the Dad, and
Mhm.
I think the perfect tag team for the next Warrior Wrestling event is Dan the Dad and our very own Justin Clapper. I think those two together would be the sitcom dads from hell.
I tell you what, I'll have to think. I don't know if that was a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it as one.
Yes. Yes. You could be the world's greatest dads.
Exactly. He's my I consider Justin my wrestling YouTube dad. So that's why I think it's a great connection.
Fantastic. But not to take anything away from Dan the Dad, but putting me on that card, I think this is something that Warrior wants to sell tickets to. So if we have the empty stadium match where they're not concerned about selling tickets, then perhaps they'll bring me in. Thank you, Sid. Let's move on here. This one, the Rascalz versus Zayne, Carter, and Christian. We got to talk about this one. Steve, I see your hands up in the air. We're going to go to you right away for comments on this one.
You just, as a fan, forget booker, forget promoter. As a fan, I have no idea what I'm going to see here. If you're a wrestling fan and you follow the Rascalz, you know that they are constantly reinventing the game. Just a couple weeks ago, they were during Slammiversary for Impact. Trey introduced the baseball slide to the outside destroyer.
Yes.
What? These guys are unbelievable. They stole the show 3 times already. There have only been 8 Warrior Wrestling shows. They've stolen 3 of them. In a fatal 4-way with Brian Cage, against Ospreay, Romero, and Amazing Red, and then against Shima and the Stronghearts. And now they're up against 3 guys whose mission in life it is to advance the craziness of professional wrestling. Air Blake will stop at nothing until he physically finds out how to defy gravity in his own body. Alex Zayne is one of the most talented people I've ever seen. We saw him at GCW's 4th of July barbecue last year and booked him on the spot, literally sent him a message before the show was over. And Benjamin Carter is possibly the most talented, raw athlete / blue chipper in wrestling. This guy is going to be a phenom, like a shooting star. So it's the 3 of them versus the guys who already change the game every time they wrestle. We're going to have to invent new words to call the moves that they do on Friday, August 7th.
This match is just going to be – it's going to be nothing but insanity, I think. I think that this has show stealer written all over it. The Rascalz, when it comes to, like Steve said, when it comes to Warrior Wrestling or wherever you see them, they are bound to put on one of the more athletic, high-flying matches of the night. Trey Miguel, I want to, single out of all of them because he's really kind of stepped up his game in Impact Wrestling, kind of showing the potential that he is a main eventer for that promotion and any promotion that he's going to be in. Desmond Xavier, he's a guy that I've seen from his time. He spent a little bit of time in New Japan as well, so he's a guy that I've seen a lot. Zachary Wentz is a guy I've been more familiar with his work in Impact Wrestling. And I just want to say, Rascalz, if you're watching this, I want to be in the treehouse with you guys. I just want to say that. And for the other team, Benjamin Carter is a guy I've just recently discovered, like Steve said, just nothing but raw potential right there. He's got a great look. He's great in the ring. He's just so smooth. And Alex Zayne, I saw him at one of the more recent GCW events jump over a car, just ran and jumped over it. He's just his hops are ridiculous.
Yeah, one of my things that I love about Warrior Wrestling is a match like this. I can see a lot of stars that I have seen on TV and been very familiar with, and actually see them live up close in person, and a great thing. And then I get introduced to some talents, and we'll talk about later, somebody like a Sam Adonis that I maybe was not on my radar, but he sure is now. And I'm looking forward to this match because I'm looking forward to having 3 more guys on my radar that may not have been, and not more importantly, on the fans and everybody else's radar. Us 3, we do a lot of research. We do a lot of wrestling in our lives and finding stuff out. But I always look forward to going, hey, I've seen this guy, and now all of a sudden it's on everybody else's, the fans' radar. And maybe they're moving up and coming to a promotion near you. So really looking
And that's the
forward to
game
this.
plan that we've got too. When we lay out a show, we want you, the average fan who just comes in for a show with their family for something to do, to see some names you've heard of, and like you said, some people you haven't, and walk away going, this is the one to watch. Quick story. Sorry, it's a tangent, but I think it ties in. When a young Steve Tortorello was going to indie wrestling shows around the south suburbs of Chicago in 2000, 2001, 2002, there was a guy who I had never heard of and absolutely blew me away. And so I went up and I bought his t-shirt from him at intermission at the Midlothian Rec Center in Midlothian, Illinois. And that was the t-shirt I still have to this day in my wrestling drawer. It was a very young CM Punk. And I think about, I got to see CM Punk wrestle in front of 20 people at the same place my buddy had his graduation party. And hopefully we provide that experience for somebody else. Hopefully somebody says, I got to see Benjamin Carter at Marion Catholic's football stadium. That's what we want to be able to provide for people.
But that you guys brew up the perfect storm every time you have an event, because I think you do that. Might be coming to see a Bully Ray, and I've heard of Brian Pillman, but now I'm seeing all these other talents that are going on. A Tessa Blanchard, a Brian Cage, and now I get introduced to a Sam Adonis, and that's what I love about it, and hopefully that's what the fans are taking away. But let's move on. Oh, look at this. Sam Adonis is in my next match, but he's taking on Lance Archer. This should be a battle. Sid, I'll go to you first on this one.
Well, Sam Adonis is a guy that he just has a look of one of the more perfect looks for a professional wrestler. You just look at him, and I think if he was like standing in the line at a path mark, you could probably tell this guy with his muscles, with the great look, the facials, that this guy is just born to be an entertainer. So I just love his whole look about him. And Lance Archer, I don't know what I could say that no one else has already said. His work in New Japan was phenomenal, a part of the Killer Elite Squad with Davey Boy Smith Jr. He's done great work in Impact Wrestling before. His work in AEW he is probably one of the most funniest people in AEW because of his constant abuse of random people. And I said one of the funniest segments in AEW Dynamite history is hearing Jake the Snake Roberts cut a promo in the calmest voice ever while Lance Archer throws a human being through a roof. So I want to see Lance Archer against Sam Adonis. This is a match I'm very much looking forward to. And I think this is going to be probably the one that exceeds everybody's expectations the most to me.
Absolutely. And we had a little taste of it at Warrior 8 when they faced off for a moment or two in the War of Attrition match. And again, everything you guys said, right? Archer was on our radar from the G. We know who he was for years, but last year he reinvented himself in the G1 in a way that was just absolutely unbelievable. And we've had him on every show since. Sam Adonis, we found kind of a diamond in the rough. We were looking for somebody to play into the very first Warrior Wrestling's storyline between Jake Hager, Jack Swagger, and Alberto Del Rio. And we knew Sam from his work in CMLL down in Mexico. And so we brought him in, and lo and behold, we thought, oh, we're bringing in a character to be part of this one story. But no, we got a guy who's incredible. Adonis has spent years in Mexico. He spent the last 2 years doing tours of Japan with All Japan. He can do the American style, like the classic NWA style, in his sleep. He is a wrestler's wrestler, as you said. And this is a guy who is going to blow up. And whether it's NXT or whether it's AEW, he's going to get a big shot, and he's not going to take long to get to the top once he gets to one of those places because all of his skills are honed. He can do every type of wrestling, and we're happy to give him a platform. And yeah, this match is going to tear the house down.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. If you watched the last Warrior Wrestling in February, the War of Attrition match, when it came down to Brian Pillman Jr. and Sam Adonis, that's where I just gained so much respect. That was my first time kind of seeing Sam Adonis, and I really cannot wait to see this match put together.
Yeah, we're excited.
Fellas, we are going to pause right here only because my 40 minutes has run out on my Zoom. So I'm going to hang up and restart it up, and we're going to go on with we got the last 4 matches. If that's okay, it'll be 10
Sounds
seconds.
good. So we'll exit out and come right back in.
We'll exit out, and I'll have to re-invite you into this. This happened to us on True Heel Heat. You know what? I talked to Ricardo Rodriguez forever. I went over for like an hour, so I don't know why this does this to me. I don't know if it's because when we have more than one person, but I'm going to hang up real quick and be respectful of your time and call you right back, guys.
Sounds good.
Nice.
We haven't even got to well, who knows what the main event's going to be, because any one of these could main event anywhere. But let's the next match on my list is one I'm looking forward to. Joey Janela versus Jake something.
Yes. Yeah. This is one of those matches where we like to put together guys from different promotions. We've said in the past that we're kind of the crossroads of wrestling. And so, Sid mentioned the Tom Lawler Minoru Suzuki match. Well, now Tom is in New Japan North America, but for the long time he wasn't. And that was a match that we could put together from 2 guys from 2 different ends of the world, and they happen to cross paths at Warrior Wrestling. This is a similar match. Jake something, again, part of AAW here locally in Chicago, part of Impact Wrestling, his cousin Jake. Joey Janela, Game Changer Wrestling, AEW. There's otherwise not a reason for them to cross paths except Warrior Wrestling. And that's where we can have these guys cross paths and put 2 incredible styles together, and they're going to beat the snot out of each other. I'm excited.
This is gonna be a hard-hitting affair, and if you know one thing about Joey Janela, and if you don't know, check out his Twitter feed with his last stunt from the GCW event with his matchup with Leo Rush, and jumping off a slim pillar to dive onto and almost kill Leo Rush in his final match. Joey Janela is just insane. He's exciting. Anytime I see him in independent promotion or AEW, he's always entertaining. And cousin Jake is someone that I discovered from the Deaners in Impact Wrestling. He's quite the character in general, but he's also a big man that can move in the ring. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm not gonna make any predictions. All I'm gonna make a prediction of is someone's gonna get hurt.
Yes.
And that's the thing with not making predictions. When we decided off camera, we're looking at all these and going, I don't know if I can make a prediction, but my prediction is I can sit back and be a fan and be entertained an entire evening long watching this. I want to touch on one more thing about Warrior Wrestling, Steve, while I have you on. And I want to make sure that I have my facts correct. I believe my first show was Warrior Wrestling 6. On the heels of AEW All Out. And I believe when you talk about Tom Lawler, did I not see Tom Lawler versus Killer Cross that night? What a match.
Did, my friend. Oh, it was great. It was another, 2 guys from 2 different parts of the world crossing, and then, shortly thereafter, Killer Cross was gone and off to WWE, and we're likely not going to see that again. So that was a fantastic match. That was some people's match of the night. Warrior 6 had there's a lot of argument about match of the night at Warrior 6, but that was certainly a great match.
And
I
told Justin this story that Warrior 6, I actually received a flyer coming out of StarCast because I was in Chicago for AEW All Out, and literally I had to leave the next morning after All Out, and I got that flyer for Warrior, and I was just so disappointed that I did not get a later flight because that lineup was ridiculous. It had Sami Callihan on it. It had Tessa Blanchard, Brian Cage. That matchup with Tom Lawler and Killer Cross, I wish I would have been there for that one.
Steve, I wish Sid, I wish you could have stayed because you could have jumped on the wrestling travel bus.
Yes.
And from the hotel to Warrior Wrestling, along with Brian Pillman Jr. was on that bus. Alicia Atut was on that bus. And somehow we ended up with Oscar from Men on a Mission on that bus. Along with all of our fans. So,
oh my God, that is one of my childhood heroes. He's a representative from Harlem, like me. I am from Harlem, and Men on the Mission were built from Harlem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. So one of the things before we move on, I want to say, if you're new to Warrior Wrestling, you're going to watch this on Fight TV or you're going to go there live. But some of the matches that we're talking about in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, if I go to my High Spots network, I could probably order some of these past events. I can get, I know for a fact, look at this. Let's see if this messes up. But I know I can get DVDs of Warrior Wrestling. Right now I've got, this is Warrior Wrestling 7 because, Steve, you were sold out of Warrior Wrestling 6 when I was there. And this is the Women of Warrior Wrestling. I know you go to High Spots and get all of your Warrior Wrestling past filled up.
Yep, and just this summer we put together the first volume of the Best of Warrior Wrestling. So 10 matches, including that Lawler Cross matches on there. And so if you want to see a sampling of all the different shows, get the Best of Warrior Wrestling. It's $15 in High Spots. So it's $1.50 for 10 unbelievable matches. And we're getting close to doing a second volume as well as the Best of. So if you're not looking to get every show, sample it with the Best of, see if you like it, and then order off the main menu after the sample platter.
Perfect. Yeah, I can't say enough about everything. Again, the Alex Shelley Austin Aries. Steve gets sick of me saying it, probably, but that match blew me away at Warrior 6. But let's move on to another match that is going to blow you away. Do you like my segue, gentlemen? I'm getting better at all this. Really looking forward to this one. Ray Lynn, who I just spoke with for our lockdown sessions the other day, and Kylie Rae, Chicago's own #1 contender in Impact Wrestling. But Ray Lynn versus Kylie Rae, your thoughts, gentlemen?
I'll jump in. We're thrilled about this match. So for those who don't know Ray Lynn, she was featured heavily on the Women of Wrestling, WOW, the promotion that was on Access TV, and is now looking for a new home. She's based out of Pittsburgh, a phenomenal wrestler, incredibly athletic, very, very quick. She was in our Women's War of Attrition match at Warrior Wrestling 8. Kylie Rae, everybody, and if you don't know Kylie Rae, I don't know what rock you've been under, but these two are very equally matched. Both of them highly athletic, very quick with counters, very quick with strikes, and both of them incredibly positive, just exuberant people. So it's going to be totally friendly until the bell rings, and then it's going to be highly competitive, and then hopefully friendly again after the end.
Yeah, I would definitely want to piggyback off of that. I was going to say with Ray Lynn, I've seen some of her work on WOW on Access TV, and she just has like a bubbly personality. She's like the type of person that I'm not too big on the baby faces, as you see here at True Hill Heat, but there are some baby faces that just have that natural attraction to them. Ray Lynn has it, and of course Kylie Rae has it. Kylie Rae is probably the most sought after female wrestler in the world. I've seen her live for promotions like Battle Club Pro. I've seen her in AEW for AEW Double or Nothing last year, and then for Impact Wrestling, she's been probably one of their key acquisitions of 2020, and she has really been tearing it up there, becoming the #1 contender for the Knockouts title. In my eyes, a future Knockouts champion there. So I know this match is definitely going to deliver.
Right,
Yes,
and Kylie Rae being maybe the name that people recognize the most, but don't sleep on Ray Lynn. If you look back, I was on a website just trying to do my research, and one of these websites had listed like all of her matches. She has been in the ring with a who's who of women's wrestling, from Mickie James to Nia Jax to Tessa Blanchard. So don't sleep on Ray Lynn if you don't know her name as much as Kylie Rae. I am really looking forward to this one. Again, another match that I cannot make a prediction of, except my predicted I'm going to have a blast watching it. Now, moving into another one that could main event anywhere, and I mean anywhere. And why is my computer messing up? Probably because I got excited here.
It heard about that main event and it just went haywire.
Crazy. Now, you tell me this couldn't main event anywhere. And, Steve, I don't know how you pulled this off. But we're going to see on Friday Night Lights, August 7th, live on the Fight TV. You can order it later on High Spots, or you can see it live. Jeff Cobb versus Brian Cage. What I said is going to be like Gorilla Monsoon said, the immovable force meeting the irresistible force, the immovable object. I'm so excited about it, I can't even speak. Fellas, your thoughts?
It's going to be like two rhinoceroses clashing on the Serengeti. They had a moment at Warrior Wrestling 2, very first War of Attrition match for our first title that Brian Cage won. Cage and Cobb were on opposite teams. It's the only time we've had Cobb at a Warrior Wrestling show before. There's a moment where they both tag in, and they come to the center of the ring, and they face each other. And you can see on the video a standing ovation from the entire sold-out gym. And the people are cheering so loud, the camera starts to shake. And then they proceed to beat the snot out of each other. And then Cage comes in with a Hurricane Rana, and they trade German suplexes, and the place is going nuts. And then other guys get involved, and that's the end of it. And then Cobb's team is eliminated. We've never seen Cobb again in Warrior Wrestling. Well, from that moment, we knew, the whole Warrior Wrestling team, we're coming back to that match. And here we are almost 2 years later, and we are coming back to that match. I can't wait.
This is what I like to call a horse fight. This is going to be nothing but big boys doing big boy things, but also these are two of the most high-flying big men in the world. Jeff Cobb does one of the best standing moonsaults that I've seen anywhere. Brian Cage, like you said, he does a Hurricane Rana. I've seen him flip standing. His athleticism is ridiculous. So, slanting flip dives to the outside. Brian Cage has been doing his whole thing with AEW. He's been one of their key acquisitions, along with him and Taz have made quite the pairing in AEW. Jeff Cobb has just been tearing it up wherever he's at, whether it was Ring of Honor becoming television champion there, whether it's been New Japan with the Lions Break Collision shows, and him kind of just beating the crap out of the young lions in America. So I just love both of these guys, and it's just going to be a great match. Like Justin said, this is a match that can main event anywhere in the world.
Right, and I can imagine that if anybody can make the entire stadium shake when it's not filled to what normal capacity is, it's these two guys. I love watching two big guys go at it, but as you guys both said, this isn't your typical two big guys who are just going to be knocking the heck out of each other with their fists and their kicks. These guys are as athletic as it gets. I mean, this one, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Internally, we've been joking that we need to reinforce the field turf.
You may have to. You may have to. If there is any earthquake rumblings on August 7th, it is all at the Warrior Wrestling Friday Night Lights show.
Yep.
Let's get to our final match. And the honors are going to go to you, Sid, because this match that I have on my list is for the Warrior Wrestling Championship held by Brian Pillman Jr. He's going to go up against Robert Anthony, and the X Factor in this match is Frank the Clown out there with Robert Anthony. And this match comes to us courtesy and is sponsored by True Heel Heat. So I only feel right giving you the first crack at this.
Well, this is the match that when Steve kind of showed me his lineup. This is the match that I most was looking forward to. We've been very big fans of Brian Pillman Jr. for a couple of years. Actually, one of my first interviews I've ever done with a professional wrestler was with Brian Pillman Jr. I met him at Battle Club Pro out here in the New York City area, and just hearing him, you can hear how genuine his love for professional wrestling was even 2 years ago when I interviewed him then, when he was just starting out in MLW. I really just knew about his time in MLW and didn't really know how much work he was putting on in the independent scene. And then I really kind of had to do my own research and kind of discover that, because I just saw him in that the new Hart Foundation mode with Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith Jr. But when you see Brian Pillman Jr., I went to upstate New York and saw him with NEW, where he had a good match with Enzo Amore. And Enzo Amore, I know fans have a polarizing view on him, but those two guys just had a great chemistry together when I saw him in NEW. Brian Pillman Jr. just has that babyface fire, and I've been watching, the old on our YouTube channel. It's called True Rewind, where we go back in time to 1995, and we're starting off at the beginning of the Monday Night War, and seeing his father in that flying Brian Pillman mode. You see all of that when you see Brian Pillman in the ring today. Like, he has that fire that his dad had. He has that athleticism that his dad had. Robert Anthony is a guy that I've just discovered from his time in AEW. He's just a very smooth technical wrestling style. He has a good personality to go along with it. His social media game is top notch, and he's also a dad, so I can relate to him that way. Frank the Clown is an interesting character. I have the privilege of I'm gonna interview Frank very, very shortly. And Frank the Clown, from what I've seen doing my research, seeing this whole story develop in Warrior Wrestling, he has a lot of the shades of Jimmy Hart. He has the Jimmy Hart type of personality for a manager. He's so obnoxious. He's so annoying, but he's a difference maker for whoever he's in the corner of. And this match just has all the potential to be a great classic Warrior Wrestling Championship match.
Yes, ditto to everything you just said. That's what we were thinking when we booked it, right? We love all three of these characters for the reasons you just laid out. And now we get to see what happens when you put them together, put them under the lights, and make it for the title.
Amazing. Warrior Wrestling, you have to be happy with your champion being Brian Pillman Jr. A side story, when I was training back in the late 90s, I don't want to put an age on me, but it's old. My trainer at the time in Minneapolis said, hey, here, I'm going to be refereeing a match at this house show in WWE. I was front row ringside for Brian Pillman's final match. Of course, the tragedy that happened there is something that is, that hurts. But at the same time, one of my memories of being there live at that final match, one of the very few people that – so I've always been a fan of Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman Jr. coming of age has been fantastic to watch. True Heel Heat, I got to tell you, I am looking forward to your interview with Frank the Clown, because you say what you want to say about Frank the Clown, you as the average fan out there. I dare you to go to a Warrior Wrestling event and see anybody that draws as much heat as Frank the Clown does with that crowd. So you were up for a great interview that I'm excited, can't wait to look forward to. But this matchup, gentlemen, we have run down this entire card, and there is not a sleeper on this match. There's nothing match to sleep on. Steve, my proverbial hat, because I have bedhead, and is off to you guys, because I know what you try to do. You try to make it outdo each event that you have. How in the world are you going to outdo this card? That's what I can't wait. I'm already super excited about this one, but I can't wait to see what Warrior Wrestling brings into the future. You guys are just killing it in every sense of the word.
Thank you. I have no idea. And that's the funny thing. So, Eric and I are the main two idea guys behind the stuff at Warrior. We go back and forth on all this stuff. And there's never been a show where we leave something in the tank. So it's never like, well, this is a great match. Yeah, but we'll do that down the road. It is always, if the world ends tomorrow, what is the best wrestling show we can produce? And then we produce that show, and then we get on the phone a couple of days later. Usually what happens actually is I will go to his house the next week, because people always ask me the night of, like, what'd you think about this match? I'm like, I don't know. I was running around like crazy. I only saw half of it maybe. And so I'll go over by Eric's house the week after. We'll put it on the projector in the basement, and we'll watch the show and talk about what worked, what didn't work, etc. And then we start the process of, how the hell do we top this? And so I don't know how it will top Friday Night Lights. We've got to get through it first, but then after that, we will figure it out. Maybe we move to, we move to Fight Island with the UFC and do something even crazier. Who knows? But we're excited for Friday the 7th, and we are going to leave everything on the field, to quote a sports cliche, because that's how we book. That's what we do. This is the best show we can put on for you. Come check it out.
Sid, your final thoughts on all this?
I am just so proud to be a part of this event as a sponsor. The Warrior Wrestling promotion. You guys are just like, you could feel the family vibe there as well. Like, you guys bring a whole community together. This is one of the big major first independent shows in Chicago since this whole troubling time in the world. So you guys are setting a trend. You guys are putting the foot forward to kind of lead the way. And when it comes to independent wrestling, I know you guys at Wrestling Travel are based in the UK. No one does it better than the UK and Chicago. Chicago has just been a home for great independent wrestling promotions. I know Steve mentioned a few with AAW, Freelance, but Warrior Wrestling has really just come out of nowhere. And like you said, you guys have so many people from so many different parts of the wrestling world coming together here. It really gives you the vibe of the early 2000s Ring of Honor, where all the best independent wrestlers or all the best wrestlers in the world are coming together in one promotion, and that's what Warrior Wrestling is. And I'm very proud to be a part of this event, Friday Night Lights.
We're thrilled to have you, my friend.
I, as a guy who has been friends with Warrior Wrestling and True Heel Heat Wrestling, to be able to watch you guys come together. We're looking at 3 companies here. Warrior Wrestling, True Heel Heat, and Wrestling Travel are 3 companies, and dare I say it myself, I'll talk about my own company, that care deeply about the world of professional wrestling. And it does not matter if you are at the beginning of your career on an independent promotion or you are on TV on the highest rated programs. Warrior Wrestling is a place where you can see it all. True Heel Heat, I know you support wrestling in all of its forms all over, and we do the same for Wrestling Travel. So we are looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm sorry that I jumped even past Friday Night Lights, but I just get so excited about what you guys are doing, what you're bringing to the table, and it's just a question in my head, like, how do they top this? But you do manage to top it each and every time, and that's one of the reasons, a small reason why we love you guys. So I want to thank you, Steve Tortorello, Sid SP3. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did.
Nailed it.
Thank you guys for joining us. And I know this will be broadcast across all of our various social medias. So you know what I love about this? This is not a Wrestling Travel production, this show. This is a True Heel Heat, Warrior Wrestling, and Wrestling Travel coming together, which is what we all need to do, not just in the world of pro wrestling, but in the world in general. So thank you guys for your time, and I will see you guys on Friday, August the 7th at Friday Night Lights. If I don't see you in person, I will see you on Fight TV.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks, Sid.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Justin.